Hey guys, it's been a couple days. I am back out here going to work on continuing with this forward part, the outboard part of the wing. I need to pull all of the ribs out and start working on dimpling all of them, and then pull this bluing off and dimple all of them. I had previously clecoed on this cutout, which was the beginning of the process of adding the stall warning system, and I did actually order the stall warning system for this plane. That comes from Vans. I have been convinced to not use it now. I'll go into that a little bit later. But I also have received a lot of questions. So my question and answer email that I did or video that I did the other day was apparently really popular. And so I'm going to try to address a lot of those one at a time. There are a lot. I'm going to get to them as I can. In the meantime, I'm just going to get to work and talk over it. The audio overlay that you hear throughout the rest of this video was actually filmed while I was working, and it gets a little noisy. Sorry about that. I probably won't do it this way again. So Cameron Smith asked, why the Vans RV-10 specifically? Why not an RV-8 or some other kit plane? You've mentioned the mission. Can you detail what yours is? So this is a fantastic question. Everyone's mission is going to be slightly different, right? And that's the first thing you have to decide is, why are you getting a plane? If you're just going to get in a plane to tool around in the sky, for funsies, if you will, you don't need a big expensive plane like an RV-10. You can get away with something half the price. I mean, a RV-3 or something like that, or RV-4 you could get for considerably less than what I'm going to pay for it. Same thing with commercial, certified versus experimental. You can always get a certified aircraft for a lot less, right? I can go out there and get a old Cessna for 20 or 30 grand, or get a newer one for, probably under 100, and still have a perfectly functioning aircraft that you can play with and meets most of your I just want to fly and have fun mission. For me, my mission was a little more serious, in that I almost have a need. I don't know if need's the right word, but I have a deep desire to be able to fly back and forth to Texas. So my company is Grok Interactive. We are a software shop. We do custom software for the internet. Companies come to us and say, hey, we really need a piece of software that does XYZ thing. And we help them through the process of not only just figuring out what XYZ thing actually is, but delivering it. We're a full service shop. We do everything from iOS to Amazon to get in there. Sorry, we do everything from iOS to Android to web pages, websites, full in shop. Like I said, we do it all. And my company's based in Texas, though. I live in the mountains of Georgia. I love where I live, and I'm here for family reasons as much as anything, but my company is there. And so I need to be able to go back and forth. And right now, going back and forth means a ticket on Delta or some other carrier, and that sucks. So sorry about you're gonna be hearing a lot of noise here. But anyways, I like the idea of being able to fly back and forth in my own plane. And I know I'm a ways away from that, right? But if you don't start somewhere, you're never gonna get there. So that's my mission. And I went to my wife and told her, here's what I want to do. And I convinced her that it is not going to be cheaper, and it's not. I mean, no plane will be cheaper than just a flight on Delta from a purely financial standpoint. But if you take into account the time aspect, it's infinitely cheaper. So for me to get to Atlanta, for example, Atlanta's my nearest airport. For me to get to Atlanta, it takes about 3.5 hours. It takes, once I'm at Atlanta, it takes an hour to park. It takes 45 minutes to sometimes 2 hours, depending on when I'm there, to get through the TSA mandatory fondle and actually get to my gate, and you're supposed to be there an hour early. It's always really random how early I am just because of the lines in Atlanta are ridiculous. I think the shortest I ever went through the line in Atlanta was about 30 minutes. The longest was over 2 hours, and I missed that flight. So a lot of people did so. But, it's ridiculous how long it takes to go to Texas for me from here. And that's not even counting the 3-hour flight, right? It can take 12 hours. That's just silly. It's a 16-hour drive. I can drive there almost as fast. Well, I was talking to a buddy of mine before I decided to do all this. He flies a 182, and he goes to Dallas all the time. He's like, you could fly your own plane way faster than that. And really, it comes down to time is money. And also, there is the fun aspect. I just want to have fun in the sky. So, yeah, that's really what started me on this mission. And then I was looking at a 4 originally, and I showed it to my wife. She's like, oh, no, I want to, we need a little more room than that. I'm like, okay, so I looked at the 9, the 8, the 9, the 14, whatever. I showed her all of them, and she's like, she started getting really excited about it. She's like, okay, I'm not keen on sitting tandem. I want to sit next to you. Okay, so that eliminated a number of them. And then finally, once we decided, I think we were looking at the 9 and the 14. We were going back and forth. She's like, well, wait a minute. What about the dogs? I was like, what do you mean? So we have 3 dogs. At the time, we only had 2 dogs. We had 2 little dogs. And now we have 2 little dogs and a big dog, which we're still not sure what we're going to do with the big dog. But she was like, I want to be able to go places and take the dogs. To which my reply was, you're never going to take the dogs. But she's convinced that she's going to want to take the dogs. Okay. So then it was a matter of, now I have to find a plane that'll hold both of us, a little bit of luggage, and at least 2 dogs. Well, that's only the RV-10. And so she said, well, then that's the plane you should get. So getting the RV-10 was actually my wife's idea, not mine. And a lot of people find that incredible, is that, I think the hardest part for most of the people that I've talked to is getting spouse permission. And my spouse was the one insisting that I go this route. So I had permission built in from day one, which is awesome. So I hope that answers why I went with 10. Now, I saw one of your other questions was why not a composite aircraft, and have I looked at other kit planes? The answer is yes, I looked at a lot. The other plane that I was really seriously looking at, believe it or not, was a Velocity. I really like the idea of the Velocity. I love the idea of a canard. And in fact, I've looked really hard at like a long easy, at a very easy, at a Velocity, and a fellow out of Atlanta is actually creating a new airplane called a Raptor, and I will link it. It's not flying yet, but it will be soon. I firmly believe that this man is doing a good thing, and this will be an amazing aircraft once it's done. So I'll put a link down below so you guys can check that out. But those planes, I was looking hard at those, and ultimately I was honestly scared of both working with aluminum, and I was scared of working with fiberglass. Well, these planes are made of either aluminum or fiberglass. So the reason I went with the 10 as opposed to the Velocity was because it just so happens that where I was living at the time, there was a fellow 4 houses down, who was working on an RV-10. He was working on a F1. He's working on an F1 rocket, but had built an RV-10. And of course, that's the guy that lives right down or has a hangar right down the way, Lynn. It was just one of those freak accidents that it just so happens that there was a guy building the exact thing I was pondering right down the road. And so I got to go hang out and see him, talk to him, and learn from him. And it was like, okay, well, that decision has now been made. So there you go. That sums up nicely, I think, both my mission and what types of planes I've looked at. Yeah, I think I made the right choice in the end, but I'm still looking at what my next plane will be, and I will probably be pondering that for a while. I do really like the idea of a canard, but you know, again, I know nothing about fiberglass, so I'm gonna have to start from scratch there. And the neat thing about the Raptor aircraft, which, like I said, I'll link that so you guys can check it out, is that he is actually showing the entire process of how he's going through and building the molds and, you know, in order to make the kits. And it's just a really in-depth process. It's actually really cool. It's a lot. It is not a trivial process at all. So that makes me think I really did go the right route. So the next question I get really often is, why did you not go with like a quick build, and how do you afford this? Those questions are related. I mean, they're actually two separate questions, right? Why not quick build? Why slow build versus quick build, and how do you afford it? Those are two separate questions, but they're kind of related because it's all about money. So why not quick build? So you can actually get quick build. Quick build kits are really cool. Half the wings come mostly built, like all the hard stuff's done. Fuselage, same way, and a lot of the really tough things are completely solved for you by a team in Brazil, I think. I'm not sure. Anyways, a team, they ship it to you, basically almost done. But it adds to the price. Adds to the price quite a bit. It also adds to the time. So that's the other thing, is the lead time for parts goes up dramatically. I think it was like 6 months for like wings to get the quick build version, and it added like $6,000 or $7,000 to it. And ultimately, which also probably added quite a bit to shipping as well, because of, you know, at that point they're not shipping the little flats, they're shipping, you know, much bigger containers. That's a guess on that part, I'm not sure. But the big thing was the money. You know, I'm not a rich man. And so now I'm getting into the how do I afford it. You know, I've got X amount of disposable income that I can kind of sock away, and then every year, effectively, you know, nine months, whatever, I can get the next kit. Well, that's $12,000, $13,000, $14,000 roughly. So this kit, I think total was like $5 or $6 grand plus the equipment, and then it's $12,000 for wings and $15,000 for the fuselage, and then up to like $40,000 for the engine, which I still don't know how I'm going to afford. But you can save up for those. So that's how I afford it. I think a lot of people have this notion that when you say, oh yeah, I fly, I'm building an airplane, that you are just mega wealthy, right? You have a mansion and a yacht. And I don't. In fact, I think people don't realize how accessible flying actually is. Once you get past the licensing part, which can be expensive, getting into a plane is actually pretty affordable. I mean, you know, I own a Toyota Tacoma is my truck, and I paid $27 for it, I think. Well, I mean, $27 will buy you a plane. I mean, it may not buy you the Lamborghini of airplanes, but it'll get you in the air. So I think that planes are more expensive by their very nature than a car. But if you can afford a mid to nice car kind of thing, you can certainly afford an airplane. And then a kit-built plane is even less expensive. And I think I talked about this previously, is that at that point you're really trading time for money. You know, I'm trading 5 years for what this would be the $300,000-$400,000 aircraft. So, yeah, can you afford it? Absolutely, you really can. Why did I go with slow build? Probably two reasons. One, because I really want to build it. I want to know the whole process. I want to know every rivet. And two, because I just didn't have the $6,000 or $7,000 at each kit to pay for the quick build stuff. So that's that. Hope that answers your question.